Have you ever seen a child who couldn't have candy growing up? That child wore his father's special orthodontic headgear on his head and never tasted a single candy in his mouth. That kid was me. My father, Wilbur Wonka, was the most famous dentist in town. In my father's eyes, sugar is the poison that corrodes teeth. Every Halloween, other children are full of harvest, while I can only watch the candy being thrown into the fireplace by him, along with my little joy, together into ashes. But you know what? Fire doesn't burn away curiosity. That day when I was cleaning the fireplace, I found an unburned chocolate that happened to be out of my father's home. I hurriedly unwrapped it and popped it in my mouth. At that moment, I was immersed in the wonderful flavor, and it was the first time I rebelled. It was also the first time I felt that my life might not belong to my father's dental drill and rules. From then on, I was on a roll and started to go crazy, trying all kinds of candies and documenting all their flavors. At the same time, I began to fantasize that when I grew up, I was going to build the most amazing candies in the world so that all children could taste the sweetness I had missed. However, when I told my father about this idea, I was met with stern disapproval and...
But I won't be here when you come back.
I didn't cry, I didn't hesitate, and I walked out of the house with determination. I left the home that only smelled like disinfectant and walked out with a head full of candy dreams. Only I was too small to have anything, and everything was just my fantasy. Helpless, I planned to go home and compromise with my father first. However, the scene in front of me but let me stay in place. People gone, the house also moved empty. Even the door number is not left. He even took the chance to forgive me with him. So I had to move on alone. 20 years passed and I no longer needed a home because I had built a kingdom of my own, the world's largest candy factory. One day, a prince far away in India sent a letter. He said he wanted a palace made of all chocolate. I didn't ask why. I didn't care if it made sense. I just heard the words, "I need you," and said yes. But I was foolish enough to forget that there are not only children in this world, but also greedy adults. My ideas were counterfeited, and the factory was betrayed to the core. So I did what everyone said I was crazy. I fired everyone and shut down the factory. I shut down the factory for 2.5 years. Until a while ago, the factory suddenly resumed production, but no one ever entered the factory, only to see a steady stream of all kinds of candies coming out of the factory. Everyone wanted to know the secret of the factory, but all ended in failure. So I made a game. I put 5 golden tickets in the chocolate and announced that 5 lucky winners would be able to visit the factory and see the secret, and one of them would also win a mysterious prize. People from all over the world went crazy for my Wonka chocolates, and as many chocolates were sold, the winners were born. The first was a boy from Germany who had no skill, no enthusiasm, only an appetite. His raffle ticket was almost swallowed with the chocolate. Honestly, I admire him. He ate his destiny by chewing without fear. The second is the British princess, Veruca. She has a perfect smile and dresses like a candy ball. She didn't have to work hard. She just had to pamper her billionaire father, and she was able to bag all the candy in town. There are no thank yous in her world, and she doesn't know how to be satisfied. Then there's Violet, a blonde girl from the United States. Her mother told her, "You have to be number 1." So she chewed a piece of gum for 3 months just to break the record. I've never seen anyone chew a piece so tenaciously. She didn't like my candy, and she didn't care about my factory. She just used it as a trophy rack to prove she was number 1 in the world. Fourth, Mike, a pretentious school teacher. He doesn't rely on luck or intuition. He used formulas, logic, and algorithms to accurately derive the probability of the distribution of my hidden raffle tickets. He said it wasn't luck, it was statistical necessity. Charlie was undoubtedly the luckiest of the bunch, as he had picked up the tickets. On his way home, he found a $10 bill swinging in the snow on the side of the road. Without hesitating, Charlie went straight to the nearest store. The owner took the bill and handed Charlie a chocolate.
You found Wonka's last golden ticket.
5 children, 5 keys. They stood in front of my factory door, separated from me by a thin gate. Some were excited, some were nervous, some were curious. I opened the gate and let them see my real kingdom. The first stop I was proud to make, a river of candy. I invented the waterfall mixing method to make the chocolate as silky as possible.
Daddy, look over there!
And pointed to a group of busy little people in the distance.
What is it?
I knew she'd ask. Of course, almost everyone starts questioning the secret behind my factory at that very second.
They're Oompa Loompas.
They looked around at everything made out of candy, shocked, whispering, hesitant. So I waved my hand graciously. You can eat, feel free. As expected, the first to pounce was Fat Augustus. Like a wild animal out of its cage, he nibbled at the grass, the chocolate rocks, and even the candy cane pillars on the side of the bridge. He wasn't visiting my factory, he was attacking. Like an unleashed hound, he nibbled the grass on the ground with gusto and finally stuck his head into the warm, thick chocolate river. And then he fell in. I did not panic, gently raised my eyes, and the sugar-pumping conduit above my head moved in response, fell from the sky, and sucked him into the fudge room in one gulp. I took them onward, on a candy dragon boat, through the waves of churning chocolate, to reach my invention room. I designed a year of hard candy for poor kids, hair toffee for balding uncles, and that not quite perfect piece of gum, tomato soup, roast beef, and blueberry pie, a full 3-course meal, all in one piece, and no fattening. Honestly, I knew it wasn't safe enough. But Violet didn't even hear me out. She only had eyes for number 1, even at the cost of an unknown mutation. She chewed so hard that she created a disaster. The tip of her nose was first colored blue, followed by her cheeks, neck, hands, and finally she turned into a giant blueberry. Even so, she still wouldn't spit out the gum. Now the mom panicked.
I can't have a blueberry as a daughter. How is she supposed to compete?
The factory was quiet for a few moments. After Violet turned, Blueberry was wheeled into the juicing room. Before the aroma of the blueberries had dissipated, I took them to the next showroom, the nut sorting room. I've always liked this room. It's clean, quiet, and accurate. No noise, no nonsense, just the rhythmic clicking. The squirrels at work were handpicked by me from thousands of animals. They don't complain, they don't get lazy, and they don't steal food. What's more, they judge right and wrong in a way that's fairer than most humans. Just listen to the sound, not the appearance. Tap it and listen to it close to your ear. If it's a good nut, it's put away in the silver jar. If it's a bad walnut, it slides right into the garbage aisle. No hesitation. That's what distinguishes value, not by birth, wealth, parents, or the size of the cry. But Veruca, the girl who was so covered in gold that even her hair looked like it was plated with copper, she looked at the squirrels with eyes that were not appreciative, but possessive. I've long been accustomed to seeing this kind of child, born surrounded by favor and never denied. She wasn't asking, she was ordering. The moment she rolled over the guardrail and headed toward the squirrels, I didn't stop. Fittingly, the squirrels twitched their noses, smelled danger, and made a quick judgment as they do when identifying bad nuts. They pushed Veruca in, moving decisively, without a moment's hesitation, just as she had claimed the world, never hesitating. I finally opened the door. The father rushed in, only to be pushed into the garbage chute himself by the squirrels. The line was now down to the last 2 groups. The air was lighter and the corridor less noisy. With a flick of my wrist, I took them to the next stop, the glass elevator. It carried us over Fudge Mountain, where I said hello to the dwarves and flew over the marshmallow room. Then, there was the puppet hospital. It was empty. Just lost souls of sugar puppets lying under clear glass covers, like my childhood, never to be repaired. Then there were the candy fireworks. Just when it was getting a little poetic, that pompous little mic broke my rhythm with a sudden grunt. Then, in an act of self-importance, Mike chose where he wanted to go and simply pressed the button to go to the TV room, where one of my greatest inventions was located, the TV chocolate candy. I excitedly explained that with this device, chocolate could be quickly brought to children all over the world. Egotistical little Mikey has finally seen something beyond his wildest dreams and thinks he can maneuver the conveyor belt. He rushed to the giant tube and quickly hit the switch, and soon he appeared in the TV set, but had been transformed into a mini-man. Finally, only Charlie was left. "You win," I told him, my tone as restrained from shaking as possible. "I say that this factory, this myriad marvels of machinery and sugar, this kingdom desired and guessed at by the whole world, will belong to him. If he will, come with me. But there was one catch. He must live in the factory, as I did, and cut off all outside contact, including his family." I thought that he would agree immediately, but Charlie refused, without hesitation.
I wouldn't give up my family for anything.
I was stunned. This child, who clearly had nothing, had what I wanted most, to belong. I couldn't laugh. At that moment, I suddenly felt that the factory was empty. Without saying anything else, I turned around and jumped into the glass elevator, running away like a little boy who has been robbed of his candy. Later, Charlie inherited the factory. We worked together on new flavors of chocolate, and I finally realized that the sweetest candy is not necessarily hidden in a factory, but in that little wooden table where you'd like to sit next to you and eat together. That's home.